This podcast contains an English accent that most of our Irish listeners will find offensive. Also, there may be some colourful language that you're going to find less offensive. Now, over to Ryan and Leon. Enjoy the podcast.
How does it affect you when you read a poem that you've forgotten? Is it like reading something written by someone else?
Well, this time I was just faking it because, for the purposes of continuity, I had to read this poem, but I hadn't read it for some time, and I left out a verse, and I'd forgotten the meaning of the whole poem.
Does this in any way disturb you? Isn't every poem a part of you as a poet?
Well, it doesn't disturb me because I don't think anything was at stake. But I think that the message comes through, with the body, with the eyes and the voice. You could really be reading the instructions from a shoe polish can.
What's the point of writing poetry then, if you could just as well read instructions on how to polish your shoes?
Well, it depends. If you want shiny shoes, and you want to, if you want people to have shiny shoes, you want to write those kind of very good instructions. And if you want to polish other parts of yourself, you do it with poetry.
Leonard Cohen.
Leonard Cohen.
Talking on CBS News in 1961.
Really?
I think.
Do you know what part of me thought he was talking out of his arse for the first part of that, and then
at the end
managed to pull it all together at the end.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was like, where the fuck is he going
Where
with
is he woofing on about?
Well, I've forgotten the whole poem.
And I don't really know what it is anymore.
But I've got a case of shoe polish here, a little tin to polish it all together, polish yourself. I was like, what the fuck? Where are you going with this, Leonard Cohen?
Yeah, but the interview was sticking with him.
Yeah. She was
teasing something out of him.
She was trying to pull a nugget of wisdom out of his nose.
That's the thing about actually, Leonard Cohen's poetry. We're gonna talk about that specifically later on. But I do think certain people in that literary space must be very difficult to talk to. Remember the Brendan Behan interview we shared?
But he was getting pissed off at him.
Yeah, he was wrecking his head. Yeah, fair.
Your man was kind of like, and how do you feel as a drunken Irishman? How do you feel? He's like, well, fuck off, kind of,
Yeah.
But I think with certain literary types, perhaps that they're a bit, they're not as charismatic as their words. So sometimes they can write phenomenal pieces, but then it's like talking to a plank of plywood.
Yeah, but they're not arse, are they? A lot of people in the world don't really care for these.
Or they're too busy to be, or they're too busy trying to be cool.
Mm.
Like a lot of people in the early 60s.
Well, to be fair, today's episode we have a lot of cool people.
That's true.
And
actually,
maybe this makes me quite cool now.
Cool by association.
Not before. I have to say, today we're going to be talking about the poetry from some of the coolest rock stars and musicians ever. So
Yeah.
Bob Dylan, Jim Morrison, Joni Mitchell, Leonard Cohen.
Patti Smith.
People that, I got to be honest with you, I went to All Together Now Festival in 2018 and Patti Smith was one of the headliners.
Oh, really?
Didn't know who she was.
You didn't know?
No, didn't know who she was, didn't bother going. I think we went to see fucking Sophie Ellis Bextor or something instead. N-dubs were on, so it was busy.
Fucking Lifetime's supporter of Daffy there, Have the fucking Daffy over Patti Smith anytime.
It's not the first time it's happened. So I remember going to Isle of Wight Festival with a load of Americans back in 2011, and it was like the headline act on the Saturday night. It was about 10 o'clock at night, last gig, last artist at the whole festival. And I saw a load of blokes behind me, arms in arm and all that, staring at the stage, and the wives were behind this row of men, and the women are just staring at these men, and the men are crying, just with anticipation of this lifelong moment of Jesus, I can't believe they're there. I was like, what's going on? It's like, oh my God, Bruce Springsteen's on in 5 minutes. I was
Boss.
I was like, who?
You have to know the boss.
No, I had no idea who he was. And there's a link between Patti Smith and Bruce Springsteen, because the first time I knew who he was when he started singing because the night and I've heard that song.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Surely you've heard Dancing in the Dark.
I
wake up
wouldn't have
in
known
the
who he
evening.
was. I wouldn't have known who he was. I have to admit it. I'm not a cool. If you listen, I can tell you the back catalogue of Tinchy Strider and All Saints if you want. But I'm not a cool cat with the music, man. You are. I know you're a cooler cat than me.
Well, I don't know. I think it's just I have people that would be into all that music, so I was again cool by association by not growing up listening to certain bands that like me ma would have listened to, or like my uncles and people that would have listened to, like, because my uncle would be, he's like, wow, he must be in his early 50s, so like he was in his 20s, like early 20s when I was born. We lived in the same house for a couple of years, so like he was listening to all that was cool back then in the 80s and the 90s, you know. So
that's the coolest stuff that I like are because of my dad's taste in music, which is very like Northern Soul, Sade, the Beautiful South, Motown, but all of that's through association like that. I was looking at my Spotify playlist earlier on and see like what are the cool things that I listen to, and there's nothing really.
Fontaines.
Spotify was going, why are you listening to Bob Dylan today? Are you alright?
You are right.
What are you doing? But looking back, I think that I was just thinking earlier on, because I knew we were doing this podcast, like, were there any crossover between poetry that I like now and the music that I liked before? I think there's a few. I think like music of the indie movement of the 2000s had a lot of like stories. I think about like
Arctic Monkeys,
yeah, when the sun goes down, and I think about the Kooks as well, Paladinatini,
Coronas.
Like, yeah, exactly. So bands that had storytelling, stories that ended and finished, and I like that about poetry. Like I like stories in poems.
I have a festival story as well.
Go on.
Oxygen 2010, before EP.
When it was good.
Back when EP was still in nappies. Oxygen 2010, I was there, and like this is when like fucking Eminem and D12, Jay-Z were all on the same thing. Like, you know, the Prodigy were there. Fucking, there was so many bands and people there that, like, I remember seeing Professor Green and all like these. There was so many.
Do you love Professor Green?
I fucking love Professor Green, but like there's so many good acts that you're kind of like overwhelmed. And obviously I was 18 and I wasn't cool and I had terrible taste in music, but I remember the lads were like, oh, we're going to see this musician, he's unreal. And I was like, who is it? And they're like, Paladinatini. And I was like, I don't really know him from him. And then went on to be a massive Paladinatini fan and didn't see him until, that was 2010. I didn't see him until 2022.
Oh yeah, no.
It was in the Tree Olympia, it's called. Just the Olympia. But I went to see him at the Olympia, and that was the first time. That was like, it was literally that summer I started listening to Paolo.
Yeah.
And it took 12 years to actually see him, because he took 7 years off.
Yeah, the silence. It's sort of
Just
like a
fucking
lot
took it
of
off.
musicians and poets have that in similar down there. They have like Michael Longley was talking about like the great silence that he went through. He didn't, like in his 40s.
Yeah.
He didn't speak. A lot of musicians, I think they must like go into this like routine of writing the music, then performing the music, and just being so wrecked they just stop, or maybe having nothing to say.
Or it's the tour. Touring fucking wrecks you. Do you know?
Yeah.
I remember hearing Billie Eilish talking about that her tour manager would light a different scented candle for every country they were in, so she'd know that she was in a different country.
Just because
she
she's
travels so
busy,
much.
no idea where she
like
is.
if she went from like Birmingham to fucking Manchester to Liverpool to wherever, to London to whatever, it would be the same scented candle, but as soon as they switched to France, it'd be a different scent, because she just loses all the. This is like hotels. Hotels, airports and prisons are considered non-spaces. It's like where time exists beyond those places. If you go into a fucking, I don't know, a Premier Inn, well, is Premier Inn like a global thing? I don't know, is it?
I don't know. I don't think so.
If you go into a Hilton,
yeah,
right, you go to the Hilton in New York, or you go to a Hilton in Japan, it's the same as the Hilton that's in Darndale, interior wise, because the Hiltons want you to be, they want the exact same kind of, you know what you're getting no matter where you are in the world.
Yeah.
So like hotels are like non-space. Same with prisons. They're like, they exist outside of society and time. They could be anywhere in the world at any time, really. Do you know? So that's why, like, musicians who spend a lot of time in hotels, they go and they're like, they're obviously probably staying somewhere nicer than a fucking Hilton. They're probably staying in at least in the
Maybe
corner.
not. I mean, the amount of squeezing that the artists are being put through.
Stick them in a Premier Inn.
You see Kate Nash on the Late Late Show talking about that the other day.
No.
Yeah, she was talking about she's on OnlyFans at the moment.
Is she?
Yeah, she's funding her tour through showing her ass on OnlyFans. She talks about she makes more money from her OnlyFans now than she did because of the overheads that she has to take on, the staffing, like being good to her
Wow.
crew. Like, yeah, man, and she's fucking massive, really. So it's tough out there, man, for artists now. Leonard Cohen was the voice at the start of the show.
Yeah.
I've been reading his poetry collection, The Flame.
Ooh.
I don't know what I expected from Leonard Cohen, but he's really funny.
I never would have thought
He's
that.
really funny.
Never would have thought
It's
that.
like reading John Cooper Clarke's poetry. The Flame
Really?
is a collection of like his best poems from it's created from his son.
Yeah.
And it was published in 2018. And there's a lot of longing in there and a lot of sadness, but like it's almost as if his collection is a little bit like, yeah, this is weird, and that's okay. Like, life is shite, but whatever.
Have a laugh.
That's basically his poetry.
Really?
Yeah. I'll share one with you.
Yeah, please do.
It's just such, and let me show you this, right? So in the collection, The Flame, I've got my Kindle in front of me here.
It's a very small Kindle.
Yeah, do you like it? Yeah. Are you a
Pocket size.
Kindle reader?
I have a Kindle, but
For things like this, it's been really useful because, like, you know, you just get inspired and go,
Yeah.
like, oh, fucking hell, I can go and buy a collection from Patti Smith now on my Kindle.
that's handy.
Let me show you these portraits, right? So through the collection, there's these mad little
Oh,
things like that,
that's mad.
like mad self-portraits, and it's got a little comments on the right. And so, like, one of them is like, it looks like I'm getting older. Like, do you know what I mean? Just like, it's quite self-deprecating in his work. Like,
Just another audio description there. It looks like an old man with his face is melting from
just
the
a
wrinkles.
melted face. Let me read you a poem. And again, like, I didn't know what to expect from this guy.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect this. This poem that I'm going to share with you, mate. This is probably one of his more somber pieces, but again, it's delivered with a little bit of humour, a bit of lightheartedness. Like, it's not as deep as you think.
Yeah.
We'll look at the deeper works from other poets later on. This is called Thanks for the Dance. Thanks for the dance. It was hell. It was swell. It was fun. Thanks for all the dances. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1. There is a rose in your hair. Your shoulders are bare. It's a costume, but I'm a believer. So turn up the music. Pour out the wine. Stop at the surface. The surface is fine. We don't need to go any deeper. Thanks for the dance. I hear that we married. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1. Thanks for the dance. And the baby you carried. It was almost a daughter or a son. And there's nothing to do but to wonder if you are as tired as I am of leaving. We joined in the spirit, joined at the hip, joined in the panic, wondering if we've come to some sort of agreement. Thanks for the dance. It was hell. It was swell. It was fun. Thanks for all the dances. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1. It was fine. It was fast. We were first. We were last. In line at the temple of pleasure. But the green was so green, and the blue was so blue. I was so I, and you were so you. The crisis was light as a feather. Thanks for the dance. It was hell. It was swell. It was fun. Thanks for all the dances. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1.
That was Thanks for the Dance by Leonard Cohen.
Not what I expected.
Very good poem.
Yeah.
Very good poem. I like the way he goes back to the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And then it throws a little curveball about the baby and all. And you're like,
Yeah, oh, hang on.
oh, I heard we married.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fucking so...
Isn't that just like the typical, like, were these lads even in the room?
Yeah. He's too busy writing fucking poems.
Yeah. This is saying about the maybe people that are that, like, that mix of, like, creativity, creative minds, but also, I don't know how much. Was Leonard Cohen a drug guy? Like, you know, like.
I'm sure they all were.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, so maybe there's a mix of, like, not quite knowing where you are and paying attention to where you are and who you're speaking to, and then, like, being too fucked out your brain to really know who you're chatting to or what is happening around your life.
It's an interesting thing, though. Instead of saying, like, oh, we married, then we got married, it's like, oh, I heard we married. It's an interesting approach to how he frames it, you know. And then it's like, oh, we almost had a girl or a boy, and you're like, it's, you know, his delivery of it is not how you'd. It comes at it in a kind of skewed way.
Yeah.
To kind of grab your attention. It's really good.
There's a poem that I read as well, and it was like, I can't quite find it, but it was basically saying, it's not like I love living in hotels and chasing women, but it's just what I do. Just like, again, but there's a comedy, there's like a dark humour to him that I didn't know existed. Because all I think about is like the trilby and maybe him sitting at a Parisian cafe with a cigar,
being
like,
a moody
bastard. Yeah, so yeah, I'm so surprised, and that's been great. This podcast has been so enlightening to read this new stuff. So that's from The Flame. Yeah. It cost me $5, so you might as well get it.
That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speaking of moody fucks, Bob Dylan, another moody fuck. Did you know, have you seen the new film that came out with Timothy Chalamet? Very good.
Oh, Timothy Chalamet played him?
He played him in the film.
Wow.
Yeah. Very, very good film. Yeah. I watched it recently enough, and it doesn't cast him as the hero. So it captures him, what I'd imagine to be quite well, that he's a moody fuck. That's
the problem with like there was a bit of a craze last couple of years about like musical biographies, like really championing like the Elton John one, the Queen one. Yeah. There's no... Not that you're watching these things for darkness, but without darkness.
Yeah. But they whitewashed Freddie Mercury. Like, Freddie Mercury, obviously fantastic artist, musician, stuff like that, but like his mates kind of made the documentary, and they didn't want they didn't want his memory to be blemished with the truth in some aspects. Not that he was a horrible person, but like there was things that it didn't give him a fully well-rounded character, you know, like faults and stuff like that. I just kind of was like, oh, here he is, and they have a slight disagreement, and no, that's the worst part of the whole thing.
And they were on the shoot, and I was like, play that again, mate.
Yeah, like...
Play that chord again.
Oh my God.
God, no way.
Whereas, like, fucking...
fucking embarrassing.
Yeah, like, whereas... like
Ray, let's say, or... are there any more really good ones that we can recommend?
Music biographies? Well, we're going to move on to Jim Morrison later, but The Doors, fucking great biopic about Jim Morrison. Val Kilmer plays Jim Morrison.
All right.
Fucking great it is. Very, very good. But back to Moody Fucks, Bob Dylan. Phenomenal artist. I think he's written like 55 albums. Wow. Like, it's an obscene amount of music that he's produced. And I suppose like the music, like the movie captures like early 20s, mid 20s Bob Dylan, even late 20s. And like, he's still a fucking child, I suppose, at that stage. That's really why he gets away with like not acting the best. You know, like moody and stuff like that. But there's I was looking to find poetry about him, because obviously everyone knows his music. His music is fucking incredible. But I found a Hot Press article.
Oh.
And it was a first look of a collection of poetry called Poems Without Titles. There was apparently, he didn't publish himself. It was lost to the ages. Then it was found again, like rediscovered. But like, it was probably just sitting in someone's fucking attic or something. And they checked the handwriting and people that he knew in college, and was like, oh, that's his work. So there's a poem in it, and again it's from Poems Without Titles. So it's about several women that he met while he was in college.
Very good.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And it says, this is just the quote. It says, the longest poem is a chronicle of young women who have caught his eye and heart, from Judy and Lone to Carol, Barbara, Adele, and Judy again.
Jennifer, Alison, Philippa Sue. Remember that song?
It's like Mama Number 5. You're just listening to all the fucking... we need more Mama Number 5s.
Lou Bega and Bob Dylan, I don't think have ever really been mentioned in the same sentence before.
I also want to know, where's Mambo 1, 2, 3 and 4?
Ask him.
Like, he just pops out Mama Number 5 and doesn't fucking have the other 4.
Lou Bega's my Facebook friend.
What?
This is a bit mad. When I was living in London, my first job in London was as a showbiz. I was working at a showbiz news agency, and it was pennies. I was getting paid about £250 a week. But one of the benefits where you get like events like fashion parties and stuff.
Yeah.
And Lou Bega was like singing at some kind of art exhibition. I started chatting to him. He was wearing his hat, and we had each other on Facebook, and we're friends ever since. I'll show you later.
Sure, yeah.
It's actually bad.
Love that.
Yeah.
So this is a poem without a title by Bob Dylan from his collection called Poems Without Titles. Once upon a time there was Judy, and she said hi to me when no one else could take the time. And she was small and cute and tempting, and I thought I loved her, and I wrote to her. She had freckles, but man, she could love like no one else could love, and she loved me and only me, and I ached for her love. Then she moved far away, gone. So gone like no one else had ever gone before, and she found someone new, 1,000 miles away, and I died. Oh God, how I died. Selah. And my circle starts over. But it's not me that's living it. No, man. I'm just a part of the circle. I'm a symbol. I'm a piece. But unlike the people, I don't fit in anymore. I'm lost. And my trouble is, I know it.
That was an untitled poem about what, young love and longing, and
because obviously like that, and he wrote the just to also add, he wrote these poems when he was fucking 18 years of age.
Yeah.
What 18-year-old writes like that?
Oh, have you been to the circle sessions?
Student, you're going to talk about student and sticky rhino.
A lot of them do.
A lot of them do.
There's a lot of. It's an interesting age, isn't it? It's like you. There's a lot of lost feelings at that age, I think.
Yeah.
Where relationships are like as fiery as hell, and your friendships are quite chaotic, and you're kind of like thrown into the adult world. So it doesn't surprise you too much that it's so mad.
It is a chaotic time, but like how people are able to articulate at that age, you know, the emotion is there, definitely the situations and environment is there, but being able to articulate at that age, it's usually in like your 20s where you're like, that was fucking mental.
Yeah.
You know, you was just like, I'll just fucking have a pint and play PlayStation for several days. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, here we cover the next, baby.
Well, I get a bit of a switch up, right? So wanted to share some poetry from Patti Smith.
Yeah.
Mentioned her earlier on as someone I'd never heard of it altogether now in 2018. A completely different kind of poet, because I think out of all the ones we're going to share today, I think Patti Smith would be probably more widely known as an equal musician and writer.
Yeah.
Like, she's had novels, she's had awards, and her poetry can be quite, I wouldn't say difficult, but like I was reading her collection, and the amount of times I had to stop reading, I'm like, what? I'd never heard that word before. It's not as natural. Like the two poems we've shared so far, it's like natural stories. Like these are they're quite political.
Oh.
They're about global affairs. A lot of them about like turbulence in the world and war. There are some about emotional conflict as well, but a lot of it is storytelling around. A lot of it is global conflict based. I mean,
Yeah.
I was reading the poem earlier on, and it was like, I was like, well, who are these people? She was like talking about the death of the daughter of Colonel Gaddafi.
Oh, yeah.
Who died in 1986 from a US airstrike.
Right.
And on the same day, the death of a French poet called Jean Genet,
Okay.
who was like, who had a completely different lifestyle. He was like a former criminal who then turned into a bit of a raconteur and a poet and a writer. And she kind of like had this poem where she kind of compares the two stories, and they're both passing on the same day, but in completely different circumstances. So she's like, oh, so like, I'm here reading it. I was like, oh, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. I think it's purposely, it's not learning material, but like she makes you work.
You kind of have to have been there. It's kind of like current affairs poetry, I suppose. Would it be like in that kind of sense where like if
She's
you
really politically motivated.
yeah, but like you'd have to have been watching the news in 1990. What was it? 1996.
1986.
1996.
86.
Yes, and I imagine like you'd have
86.
to be watching the news in 1986 to understand who those people were.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to go into the fucking library where we are and have a look through a few books, find or a Googleizer search.
Yeah, I mean, but then I went down a rabbit hole. Do you remember when Colonel Gaddafi got ripped apart?
Yeah.
Fuck me.
When did you go?
Well, yeah, I knew that, like, Gaddafi, I was like, I never Google. I was the daughter of the Colonel Gaddafi. So I went to Wikipedia, Colonel Gaddafi. Oh, God, you've seen that image of his face close up on the Google images. Remember? Oh, anyway, rough.
You were looking at that today.
Yeah,
That's
looking at that today.
fucking
My
horrible.
head was gone. My head was fucking gone. You think I'm mad usually? My head was gone today. But I want to share this poem with you. This was probably one of the, I want to say the lighter poems, but like more of the introspective poems that she had in the collection that I read. The book that I was reading is called Auguries of Innocence. Auguries.
Auguries.
Yeah.
What the fuck is an augury?
No, I haven't got no fucking idea. So this is called The Writer's Song by Patti Smith.
I know what that means.
Same. I did not wish to work. I did not wish to earn, but to curl with my jar in the sweet sorghum. I laid my mat among the reeds. I could hear the free men call. Oh, my life, what does it matter? Will the reed cease bending? Will the leper turn? I had a horn, I did not blow. I had a sake and another. I could hear the free men, drunk with sky. What matter my cry? Will the moon swell? Will the flames shy? Banzai, banzai. It is better to write than die. In the blue crater, set with straw, I could hear the free men call. The way is harder, the gate is narrow. What matter, I say, with the new mown hay, my pillow. I had a sake and another. I did not care to own nor rove. I wrote my name upon the water. Nothing but nothing above. Banzai, banzai, it is better to write than die. 1,000 prayers and souvenirs set away in earthenware. We draw the jars from the shelves, drink our parting from ourselves. So be we king or be we bum, the reed still whistles, the heart still hums.
That was The Writer's Song by Patti Smith.
That is incredible.
Yeah, very good.
That is a gift.
Yeah, it's better to write than die.
Yeah,
she said the line.
To write then die.
Yeah, to write than die. Wow.
No matter what stature you are. And then she's admitted that the work she does may never be read again. Writing in the water.
Yeah.
Souvenirs that get thrown to earthenware, like that is a fucking gift.
Yeah.
I do think some people that we talk about, like I prefer high level. Like I'll be honest, like I prefer reading poetry that's kind of easier to read. It's quite like not high level, but like not too deep in the doldrums. But I think certain people are able to bring something so powerful to creativity, and she's a magician.
She's dialed in.
She's dialed in.
She's dialed in. She's her ear to the ground. And she's able to use, I think when it's like, there's introspective poetry and then there's external.
Yeah.
I was going to say extrospective, but I don't think that's actually a real word. I'm just creating words here now.
Yeah.
But like external poetry where it's like poetry from within, I think is timeless because you can like love people, you know, no matter where you are in the world at what time in existence, you'll know, although love changes, you'll have a grasp of what love is. But where if it's external poetry, you have to look out at what's going on right now, and it's kind of like a moment in time. It's not timeless.
Very hard to be earnest and authentic when you're talking about the external as well. It's easier to dial into yourself.
Yeah, I think so. Well,
self-reflective, journalistic kind of work where you're reviewing how you like. That's easier.
Like you can tap into your own emotions, I suppose, whereas you're having to capture external stimuli and put it into like a subjective form from yourself. So like your poetry is subjective, but you're looking at an objective landscape basically. So you're looking out at something else happening and trying to bring that into the subjective experience that is your writing. So like that's more difficult.
Tough task that.
Because if you go, you know, like the Beautiful South broke up, I have felt heartbreak. You know what that heartbreak feels like because it's your heartbreak. But if you're trying to write from the perspective of the Beautiful South when you don't know them and try to capture that into a subjective, I don't know why that is.
Yeah, but it's hard. Yeah,
it's
harder. You have to somehow summarise where you were at the time that you found them and why it was so important, and also talk about them. And it's just like, tough story this.
Do you know what I mean? Turns out that they were all shite bags that left the toilet seat up. That's why they broke up. You wouldn't know, but you have to kind of make it relatable. Yeah. Even though, you know, so it is more difficult, and I think Patti does a very good job in capturing the times that she's writing in.
I do think though as well, just because I was reading the collection today, she's so tuned in to so many things that are quite dark and quite hard to find any hope in. I'm just glad that there's a balance. Like I don't want to feel that much. I know that sounds a bit of a fucking mad thing to say, but you ever meet people that are just so... I'm not saying this is Patti Smith, not that she listens. Well, I don't know why I'm concerned. But like, you know, you meet some people and they're so bogged down with existentialism and crisis and things that are out of their control, but that's where their brains are and their hearts are. So you can't control this. So stop thinking about it. So that's what they are.
Yeah,
I'm just glad I don't have it because it's tough enough.
It is tough enough.
Jeez, isn't it just?
I think people want to make a difference and get into stuff like that, like activism, and people power does change the world, but and I think it's right to be part of that movement and have a say and voice fairness and you know, progress things to bring everybody up.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking about that all the time, you need to have a balance. Like, you know, it's like you can't be down there in the muck all the time.
No.
Like, I work with a lot of journalists on a daily basis, and their whole life is just war and devastation. And I'm like, how do you turn off? Like problems that are happening further away now are being pulled closer and closer and closer, and that's why it's like it feels like everything's on fire. But there's also a lot of good in the world, and also as well, I think with algorithms and stuff like that, it really only shows you stuff that will kind of pull you in. It'll grab your attention.
Yeah.
If you think, like, you know, that fucking, I don't know, there's a goose in Fermanagh that has had a healthy batch of eggs and they're all going to be, like, that's lovely.
Lovely.
Do you know, lovely.
Give me that news story.
Lambs are being born as we speak, and they're going to grow up into sheep and not being turned into fucking lamb pies, you know.
Yeah, mate.
There's loads of lovely news in the world. I don't know, I'm going on a farmyard thing. I'm sure there's plenty of things. Do you know, there's like a children learning to walk as we speak, and there's whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But if they put that on the news, you wouldn't fucking care. Whereas, like, people put like atrocities up, you're dialed in. Like, I think it's kind of like the hunter-gatherer mind of like the danger. You want to keep an eye on the danger. You know?
That's probably
the birds singing are a nice little addition, but like the danger is what you really want to fucking keep an eye on. Yeah, and that's what the news cycle is doing. It's just throwing shit at you. That's my rant done.
Yeah, same.
That's my rant done. Do you want to hear the Jim Morrison?
Well, you've been talking about this book that you have for ages, and it's an old looking book. This is the only, it actually says on the front cover, the only published poetry of Jim Morrison, The Words, The New Creatures.
The Lords.
Oh, sorry, the Lords.
Sorry, the Lords. My finger was over the L.
Yeah. The Lords, The New Creatures.
I'm holding this book up to the microphone as if you can actually hear how old it is. It's not. That's not true. But this book, I actually had to buy second hand. I believe it's out of print. So this book, I believe, so it was 1969, but this edition is 1985.
Okay.
So it's 40 years old, this book. That's
you're a fan of The Doors. And
oh yeah, I love The Doors.
What's the cover band you like to go and see all the time?
So there's The Doors Alive.
Doors Alive,
and then there's the Roadhouse Doors.
Okay, cool.
So we used to go every year to EP and see the Roadhouse Doors. And your man would wear the leather trousers. He was like Jim Morrison towards the end. He's like a bit heavier and he's wearing leather trousers and he's singing LA Woman, and he's going, you know, like an hour ago, do 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 do, and you can't even hear what he's saying. That's why, you know, he's just spluttering words at you. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
But there's another band called The Doors Alive, and it's like Jim Morrison when he's younger.
Okay, cool.
And he's an absolute fucking unit. I think he's about 6'3". He wears the cowboy hat. He even walks like Jim Morrison. And he talks like him, and he sways on the stage, and he's got a bottle of bourbon beside him and all, and it's fucking incredible. It's the closest thing you'll ever see to seeing Jim Morrison, you know.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine is really into the Doors as well, and he's like, have you ever seen this? So we're talking about the podcast, I'm talking about, you know, the talking about Jim Morrison, the band, the Doors and all of that, and he was like, have you ever, he put me onto one thing. So there's Jim Morrison released a poetry album with the Doors, which is actually fucking phenomenal, and it is called An American Prayer by the Doors, and it's like an album where it's obviously made for vinyl. So you know the vinyl, like say the likes of Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, it's not so much a lot of individual tracks, it's kind of like a whole experience for like an hour.
Right,
so each track ties into the next one. So this one's like part poems and poetry, where he's kind of he's explaining certain things, and then I'll go into a song.
Oh, nice.
So it ties into stuff like that. So like there's some fucking great ones, and then like there's there's ones where like he's talking about Jim Morrison believed that when he was a child he witnessed a car crash in the middle of nowhere, and there was a lot of Native Americans dead on the ground, and Jim Morrison believed that like a spirit from a Native American possessed his body for the rest of his life, and that's why he believed into this kind of shamanistic kind of. You never heard this?
No.
So
fucking hell.
There's the Doors. The Doors movie is very good. It kind of talks about certain elements. Cool. But American Prayer is a brilliant album. You should definitely listen to it.
I'll listen to it on the way back.
So I've got American Prayer in one hand, and I've got the Jim Morrison poetry in the other.
Yeah.
But it's phenomenal stuff. So I'm just going to read, right? So this book is wild, right?
Yeah, the page I opened earlier on was like
like this
voyeuristic about wanking and
there's a lot of things. I was just like, I'm just trying to like pick a word that doesn't have erection in the book. I'm just trying to pick a poem that isn't as bad. So there's two books basically together. So it's The Lords and then The New Creatures. Halfway through it, so one half of it's yellow, then there's a tear in the middle, and it goes between yellow to green. So this is the green part from The New Creatures, and none of them have titles. Terrible shouts start the journey. If they had migrated sooner, a high wailing, keening, piercing animal lament from a woman. High atop a mount tower, thin wire fence in the mind, dividing the heart. Surreptitiously they smile, inviting, smiling. Choctaw leave, evil, leave, no come here, leave her. A creature is nursing its child, soft arms around the head and the neck. A mouth to connect. Leave this child alone. This one is mine. I'm taking her home. Back to the rain.
That was a poem from The Lords and the New Creatures by the Doors frontman Jim Morrison.
He was into some mad shit as well.
Yeah, wasn't he? Yeah.
He's into the dark arts. Apparently there's
How old was he when he died?
27.
Oh, okay. Obviously he was
27 club,
yeah,
baby. He friend of mine's a massive fan of the Doors, and he was telling me a story that up in Scotland, so Jim Morrison had a house in Scotland, like up in the Highlands, and apparently he was into, as again, some dark shit, and allegedly there was like a ritual being done, and they reckon that they released something that they couldn't control.
Like a spirit or
a demon or whatever.
What? And
to this day, if you go up there, there's some mad shit happens around that house, even to this day.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And he died in the 70s, like.
Fuck.
So he's mad. He's into mad stuff. He's drinking fucking blood and all. And as I said, watch the documentary. It's wild, you know. But like also,
you read,
like, you know, have you ever watched Wayne's World?
Of course, I've watched Wayne's World. Yes.
You know, Dave.
Dave,
Did you see the Native American with their butt crack? Was it a bit too much? So you know that part where they go
I
to
used
meet
to beat him to death with his own
with his own shoes. Yeah. So like, you know that part where he goes into the desert and he meets Jim Morrison.
Meets Jim Morrison.
That's from the Jim Morrison movie. That's from the Doors movie.
Oh, okay.
That they go off and take peyote in the desert, and then they see like a Native American fella, and they brings him there, and that's why like Wayne's World brings
Jim
it back
Morrison.
to Jim Morrison.
What movie that was?
Swing. Yeah. What is it, my love? He gets the girl.
Iconic, just iconic.
Yeah.
I wanted to when I knew we were going to be talking about musicians and poetry. There was one person that I just couldn't wait to share a piece from, and I think it's one of the songs that I just think that it could have stood alone as a poem.
Yeah.
And it's from Joni Mitchell.
Mm.
Do you remember when there were videos going around of Joni Mitchell coming like back at like some kind of small town festival in England, in Bristol somewhere, like 2 years ago, like some kind of folky festival doing a set. Yeah, still got it. Beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Oh, beautiful. And actually, I was so thankful for this episode because it got me back into listening to Joni Mitchell. I think something like Bob Dylan as well, maybe Leonard Cohen. Like I think there are certain artists that would it be fair to say that some people might be too scared to listen to because they're worried about an inner stirring. Do you ever, when you were younger and maybe after a first love, you'd have been in a H&M or a HMV and a song came and you ran out?
N-dubs.
Not N-dubs. No, something a bit more deeper.
What about like say
the
streets, Dry Your Eyes, mate? That used to. I remember being 12. I remember being 12, listening to that song, and my world would be falling apart listening to that song. And I was like, I have so many fucking feelings, and I'm only 12. Listening to that song, like I can imagine one walking away from the last time, and I was like, I have a fucking bedtime, pal. Yeah. I shouldn't have these emotions.
Are you happy to listen to tragic love songs now?
I think I'm a bit more resilient.
I'm a little bit. Yeah, I'm definitely a lot more resilient now.
A bit more braver. I can listen to sad songs now and not be overwhelmed with a feeling of emotion.
Yeah. What is the modern classic that just makes like that's Pink is the one, isn't it? She's the one that has the songs that people go nope. Like
that make you feel sad.
Give me one good read, just a little bit's enough. Just a second.
Adele, someone like you. Never mind, I'll find someone like you.
The tears in the shopping centres.
You'd be roaring crying listening to Adele.
Yeah. This there are certain artists I think that sit even like Adele, Pink, vroom. Joni Mitchell, you better fucking strap up to listen to. Do you know what I mean though?
Strap on.
To really enjoy songs like that, I mean, you've really got to be be belted up, pal.
You be belted, yeah. Fully equipped.
I'm gonna read out Both Sides Now.
Oh, yeah.
Love Actually fans will remember Both Sides Now as the moment where Emma Thompson starts crying after realising that Alan Rickman had cheated on her. I looked to love.
The bastard, he buys the necklace.
Yeah, exactly.
Scumbag.
But I just remember the lyrics of that. Like, so watch the film. That was my entry point, Joni Mitchell. A lot of people, I'm sure, were the same. And then you go back and you listen to her music and River as well, the Christmas song River. Fucking hell. So anyway, I want to read it out, and I think it stands alone as a perfect piece of longing poetry. This is Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell. Rows and flows of angel hair, and ice cream castles in the air, and feather canyons everywhere. I looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and they snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and dunes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way that you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way. But now it's just another show, and you leave them laughing when you go. And if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions that I recall. I really don't know love. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. I've looked at life that way. Oh, but now old friends, they're acting strange, and they shake their heads and they tell me that I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.
That was Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell.
Like, are you joking? Are you fucking joking? From anything we've shared today, and anything we've probably shared ever,
Yeah.
that's a boat rocker.
It is, yeah. That makes you pause and reflect.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Pause and reflect. It's unreal.
I hope everyone else is taking a moment like we are.
Hope everybody's fucking putting Joni Mitchell onto their Spotify.
Do, yeah, definitely do. Actually, that track is from an album from the year 2000.
Really?
Yeah. So, that's what. And the album cover of Love Actually is the album cover of that album, and it's from 2000. So I don't know.
Wow. It's great that people think that there's some sort of divide between obviously we've talked about rap before. Rap is rhythm and poetry, but songwriting is poetry with just music to it as well. It's the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. And like Mike was saying last week, we had Mike Garry on the show last week, and we were talking about why don't we talk more about song lyrics being something we can use for kids to learn and interpret what they mean in the education system. There's no difference between. The only difference is it's written for music. That's all it is, and it's more powerful with music.
Oh, don't be playing WAP in a school now. Your English
You're
teacher.
naive to think that WAP isn't played in the school.
I'm sure it is, but I hope it's not in an
Very
English
naive.
class. Do you know what I mean?
Kids, there are kids at these concerts as well. Yeah, Mum, take me to the WAP.
I know, you're like, what the fuck? The one of the world's on fire. All the WAP concerts going on.
It's been a while since our Agony Aunt has come out to play, but we needed her.
Yeah,
because we had a problem in.
We had a big problem. So I had to go. You know the way Cheltenham was on.
Yeah.
So I had to go to the racetrack.
Okay.
And I found her with two bookies in a headlock. Because she put down a bet that came through, but the bookies wouldn't pay out the debt. So she was fucking strong arming two bookies at once. I said to her, look, you need to put down those bookies and get your own book out and write us a poem because the world needs you.
Well, linking to the problem itself, the problem that she needs to fix here is I'm increasingly afraid of what my country has become. Fitting for today's show.
Very
we talked about earlier
fitting.
on. It's almost like we know what we're doing.
It's almost as if we've read that before. And the Agony Aunt has shared her poem with us before we had our conversation. But we'll leave that up to the illusion of show business.
Yeah, exactly. It's all showbiz, baby.
It's all showbiz, baby. And I heard she made a tidy sum in Cheltenham as well.
Good.
So she's fairly flush at the moment. So she wrote me this poem. It's called A Love Letter. We used to be best mates, my country and me. Heading out and having the crack, constantly talking shite late at night about our hopes and our dreams. Keeled over, laughing, arms holding sides like we'd burst at the seams. But something has changed. Over these last couple of years, things became serious as we talked more about anxieties and fears, suspicions and dread. Confusion that led to us having a bit of a falling out. See, my country has changed and I'm increasingly filled with more doubt. That it's not an easy fix, can't settle it with just a Twix or have a break with a Kit Kat as we chit-chat about happier times. But as things become more expensive and it seems all of our other mates have left, the party feels empty now and we're just getting swept up in bullshit. We've McGregor meeting presidents, setting a prescience for victims, with people mistrusting immigrants when they're just trying to put a distance between their old worries and cares. My country feels different. My country feels scared. Maybe we just need a breather to put a little distance between these worries and fears. Give me country a hug and wipe away its tears. Tell it we'll be okay, as long as we stick together. If we trust in its people, then maybe things will get better.
That was the Agony Aunt with a love letter.
Very deep she was.
She's gotten better.
She's got. Maybe she's
up for it now, is she?
Maybe with all the money she's won in Cheltenham, she actually paid a ghostwriter.
That could have happened.
Maybe she paid Joni Mitchell from the Ether.
That also could have happened.
Through the veil there, just to fucking write a few pounds for it.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes there's a desperation when you've got no cash to make sure the poetry lands. But, you know, when you're flush, it's the pressure, you know, you kind of, you know, you remove the shackles.
The hunger is gone.
Yeah.
The hunger is gone of the artist.
Thanks for that, Agony Aunt. Hopefully that helped our listener.
Exactly.
It helped me anyway. We'll wrap up today's show with a Irish musician who we've featured poetry on the show before. Enjoy this banger of a track by Cuiva Weeklium called Hiding.
Fabulous piece.
That was released last year. Cuiva, thanks for letting us share it. Leon Dunn, thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure, never to chore rhyme, baby.
I've enjoyed rocking out with you.
Rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do the fucking?
This is Cuiva.
There was a time it used to be hard to find me. I'd honed the craft of hiding so well in the crevice between wall and shelves, or bent to the shape of a wardrobe nook and silent as a mouse, engaged in the game of not being found. Bound in bouts of childish play, but these days I wonder, was I training for a lifetime of making myself small? A bleak metaphorical foreshadowing of the harrowing future for the daughter, not the son, the one that gets gripped a little tighter, 'cause she's a flightless bird, not a fighter. Best off to pipe down, be polite and respectful, and text when you're on the way home. The rules that stick like a well-versed poem but kick you in the teeth when you slip. Blamed on fishnets or a mistaken kiss when the camouflage is relinquished. I felt as pretty as a rose, but my vulnerability, supposedly exposed, could open with the fine line between confident and provoking. Notorious for getting around or for where you put your feelings, but these teams aren't even. Brat, slag, clingy, the state of her, and my competitive nature might have done me good if I wasn't conditioned to wrestle my own sisters. Step into a ring and pick apart each finicky characteristic. Painted masks or hand-me-downs, each time ignoring the puffy purple bag, starved skin, confidence as thin as the chipped fingernail polish, the traits we actually held in common. In our strife to be some priceless commodity, a Lego block, clay mold, mass-produced perfection, neglected be the bond only we could share. Until the armour sharpened to barter and compare, collapse like a back garden folding chair to suit whatever lustful form forced a seat. Neat, tidy, sweet as a honeysuckle, pucker your lips and have a treat. Quiet, agreeable, courteous, just never quite complete. Always lacking something, always drawn back to the race to the top of the ladder, scrambling for anything to hang on to. A compliment to feed the spiral, validation paced the rat race I couldn't hide from. But we're just another animal that learns to adapt. It's all about planning, preparing, mental strategies, pull your skirt past your knees and take the long route home. Just like I'd flatten my body with such flair to fit in the cupboard under the stairs in hide and seek. I hide, conceal and calculate each mundanity of my days, lock up this vesseled voice and throw away the key, 'cause I know from experience to dare to take up space is the most dangerous of games. My mother tells me to take the world by storm, but then she doesn't sleep at night. Stays up praying to hear my key in the door, that I'll make it back from my endeavours for the morning, 'cause no encouragement to follow my dreams comes without a warning. She knows I'm made of the most daring mix of fire and water, but secretly hopes I'll sport an ordinary life, do what we do best, curl up in a beautiful ball and hide. I won't be the daughter she knows I can, but I'll be the one who makes it home in time for light, unscathed. I don't quite know what it means to be a woman. I think I'm still learning to love her, to reclaim the control I lost when you pulled me to the box room to play, and play you did, and I hid, and I've been hiding ever since. Rinsing the sick reminiscence from head to limb and everywhere in between. But I pat it dry. Whether it's self-love or defiance, look myself in the eye and tell her, you are art. A masterpiece crafted from every shadow once inhabited by a woman, by the resilience of my sisters that no longer fits in the archaic spots where we hid and were lost. Like Bridget, who brings the flowers from the frost, patroness of breaking tradition, blessing the womb, the breast, the feminine energy. I am her and she is me. No inflicted competition could undress our holy cloak of outspoken, skin showing goddess awoken, and always making it home, 'cause my home is my body, and my body is not hidden but free.